My favorite quote on communication is the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has taken place.
Damn.
We often think we have communicated, and all of us have had this experience of, oh, but I said clearly, and then you realize, oh, communication is actually about the receiving end, not about the sending end.
Yes.
Right. So just because you said something doesn't mean the person understood it the same way that you meant it or even understood it at all. They could have understood exactly the opposite sometimes. But all of us live in a constructed reality, a reality that our brain constructs with the help of language and culture. But we all believe that we are experiencing reality directly.
Yeah. And objectively.
And everyone is experiencing a different reality. And so when we come across people who see things differently from us, our first instinct is to say, oh, well, they haven't been exposed to the right information. I'll just give them the right information and that'll convince them.
Yeah.
And then you try to do that and it still doesn't work. You still disagree. Then you say, well, they must be stupid or biased. And you give up. Instead of saying, well, maybe I see things the way I do because of my history and my own set of experiences. And so maybe I can learn from this misunderstanding or I can learn from this miscommunication and broaden the way I see things as well. But there's an infinite set of ways to see any issue, no matter how small or how large.
Are you thinking this? Do you use the internet? Like, do you use social media?
Sometimes.
No. Because I was just like, wow. Like, if you use the internet with this level of intellect and grace, it would take long to like scroll even one page because the person's going to say something. Then you're like, damn, this is misogynistic or racist. But let me put myself in their shoes. Where did they grow up? And what were their experiences? How did they experience the world? Who are their influences? I can now see what they possibly meant with this. All right, next tweet. This is misogynistic and racist. Wait, hold on. How did they grow up? Is that what you're doing all the time? Or are you able to like switch it off, switch it on? I'm saying this is like it's a superpower, but it's not. It's something you actually like work on. Forgive me.
Well, there's certainly some learning experiences that are more worthwhile than others, right?
Okay.
So there's certain disagreements or miscommunications you enter into that you think, oh, this is going to be really worthwhile for me to learn something. This is a good learning moment for me. When I travel a lot, for example, I travel to small communities all over the world where people are very different from me. And those experiences are often challenging. And it's in those moments of challenge that you're going to learn something. Right? That's right when you think, oh, I'm frustrated. I'm about to have a sense of humor failure. That's when I think, all right, this is the time for me to really expand what I think is possible in the world, expand how I see the world, really see something from another point of view.
How would you describe what you do? Because your job title is like a paragraph long.
I study how humans think, and I study how humans get so smart. Not individually, but, as a group.
Oh, you see, I wish like your bio is so much longer. Cognitive scientists studying the connection between human language and evolution and societal understandings of reality and cognitive-based, blah, blah. And I was like, man, I like the way you just said it. How humans think and?
How humans get so smart. And a big part of that is language and culture. The languages and cultures that we all marinate in teach us what thousands of years of the humans before us have developed. It's intellectual property that is contained in languages developed by ancestors and ancestors' ancestors. And we as children are given it. We take it completely for granted as if it's just part of the air that we breathe. But of course, each person with their own history, their own linguistic experience gets a different set of cognitive basics to work with. And yet we all walk around thinking that we see the world exactly as it is. We see the world purely as reality when everyone else is using their own set of filters and their own set of experiences.
Question.
Yes.
If you had a person who is had born in like two different languages, like let's say English and Chinese, let's say. Mandarin. Thank you. And
everyone's now on best behavior. There's a linguist. Have to name the languages
now
properly.
we're fully on it. We're fully. You don't even understand.
And for all intents and purposes, for all, I don't know how to make everything equal, but for all intents and purposes, they were like identical environments, let's say, but just the languages were different. Would they be, according to you, yes or no, I don't know if it's, would they be like different people? Because language is so part of like our personality. Would just switching the language make the person a different person?
Yeah, you can actually do that with bilinguals. You can do studies like that with bilinguals where you make them do a task in one language or another. And you can see that they think differently depending on what language they're doing it in. And many bilinguals will tell you, and I feel this too, like you're almost a different person when you're speaking two different languages. Now, there may be some parts of that personality that shift because of the context in which you use the language. So, for example, one language might be the language of childhood, another the language of work, another the language of something else, right? So there could be contexts, but there are definitely structural elements of language that lead you to think one way or another, depending on which language you're using in the moment.
So, sorry, just because in my mind, a bilingual person is sort of like, I might be wrong, but it's sort of like the same person using two different like outfits or something. Do you know what I mean? Like they just dress differently in a way.
No,
I'm not saying it. I'm asking. I'm
answering as a linguistics expert.
Thank you so much.
You know what I've noticed? When him and I are speaking in English, we are...
No further questions.
I just got an honorary doctorate.
You know what Eugene did? It's like you were in court, right? And then you asked the defendant on the stand, you asked, on the night of the murder, Mr. Watkins, what were you doing between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m.? And then as Mr. Watkins was about to say something, Eugene shouted from the gallery, was just like, nothing! Now, as I was saying...
We're talking. Okay, so there's two parts to what I want to say. We're talking to this other friend of ours, and then we're talking about how his wife grew up with 3 other siblings, right?
Yeah.
Then the other siblings spoke a different language because the mom insisted that they speak this language.
Yeah.
Then the other ones did not speak that language, and we were trying to figure out how different they are as human beings. But I've also realized with us, when we speak English, we become more structured and we know what to say. But then when we switch to Zulu, we are more mischievous and humorous. Like him and I, we just go, and then we come back again. So to your point, it's almost like a persona that comes on based on the language and what it reminds you of and where you draw it from. Because there was never anything traumatic about us speaking the way we... It's actually very nostalgic.
Yeah, but I would even argue this on top of that. I think what I've found is the language itself, like language itself contains information, right? And this is what I'd love to learn from you on like on an expert level is, the way I understand it is when I think of words that I speak in every language, the word itself comes with information encoded within it. So, so beyond like just the word, like the meaning of the word. So sort of to your question, Dave, is like, I find that let's say for instance, I miss you. Let's say a sentence like, I miss you, right?
Never say those words to me.
Yeah, but when I say ngikumbulile.
Oh yeah, zimfanas.
You see? So like, I miss you, it has its meaning, but then ukumbula is more like to remember somebody.
Yes.
And while they both share the same like space, if they want a diagram, you would say, yes, missing someone and remembering them, but it actually like means something different. Being hungry in some languages is very different to being hungry in other languages when you look at the words. And I often think to myself, it might be because those peoples had a different period of hunger that influenced the making of their word for hunger. And then these people had a different period of hunger. And so their word for hunger doesn't contain the same like gravity.
Gravitas.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same level of like gravity in hunger. Is that like even in the right ballpark?
Well, so what you're pointing out is that every language is its own complex system, and all the words in that language relate to other words inside that language. They exist in relation to another.
Yeah.
And so when you try to translate to a whole other system, there's never going to be a perfect translation because you might pick a word that's kind of similar, but it lives in a set of relationships to other words and the system, the shape of the whole system is different. So it's like saying, what is the equivalent of a rook from chess in ice hockey? Well, there isn't an exact equivalent because they're two different systems. They have different kinds of players and different rules and so on. So there can never be a perfect translation because each language is such a complex, interconnected system with hundreds of thousands of words that have to relate to each other and are covering the entire conceptual space that people in that language group want to talk about. So that process of translation where you feel unsatisfied when you want to say something in another language and you're like, oh, it's not exactly right. That's because you're now using a completely different system and it's not going to be exactly the same.
So Chinese Dave, I was about to ask you a question. So Chinese Dave can never be English Dave, is what you're saying?
Well, fundamentally, they're going to be different systems of thinking. But for a bilingual, what's interesting is people who've learned both Mandarin and English don't act like monolinguals of either language. They act a blend of the two.
That's right.
More like a Mandarin speaker when they're speaking Mandarin, more like an English speaker when they're speaking English, but never quite like a monolingual of either. So once you learn a second language, it's adding something to your cognitive system that you can't just turn off completely.
Also, in different languages, we meet sort of like similar characters. If you know people from different languages, I mean, like, so let's say you have Russian friends and English friends. You'll have an English friend who is happy-go-lucky and, you know, personality-wise, but a Russian friend who's also happy-go-lucky personality-wise. Does that make... So it's almost like how much...
I think a chance to ask.
I think it was confusing because you said Russian and happy-go-lucky.
Yes,
I think your example didn't help us.
Yes.
Because if you said Russian and like hardcore, then I would be like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Because I think I understand your question completely. I just think you threw us off by saying Russian and happy-go-lucky.
I did throw you off.
I don't think I've ever met a happy-go-lucky Russian.
I did.
In fact, I had a friend.
It's not typical for Eastern Europeans.
Yeah, but I had a friend who said something to me, like one of the craziest things ever. Russian guy who said to me, because I was making a joke with him, and then I was like, oh, of course you. I said that's racist, but of course you'd be racist. You're Russian. But this was a complete joke amongst friends. And then he said, yes, but we are because our language is like that. And then I was like, what do you mean? And then he said to me that in Russian, I don't know how to. He said something like, the prejudice towards colors is more apparent in Russian than it is when he's speaking English. And I was like, I don't even understand what that means. But it stuck with me forever. He said, yes, the way we speak about color is that like a real thing, or was he just trying to hide his racism?
I speak Russian. I can't immediately connect a linguistic fact to that claim.
Yeah, you must, because I mean, people just say things to you. You can just say, because now he was Russian. What was I going to do? Fight with him? Be like, you're lying. That's not a thing. But I didn't.
But I can confirm that Eastern Europeans are not happy-go-lucky as a standard personality trait. It's only an idiot would be happy in a world such as it is today.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
The proper state.
Wow. We just met.
Reflective melancholy.
Wow.
Reflective melancholy.
Wow.
I hope that explains it.
Perfectly. You know, back to school season has a way of making every day feel like a race against time. And it's funny how back to school doesn't just affect the kids, it changes everyone's rhythm. Traffic gets worse, calendars fill up, dinners happen later, and suddenly anything that saves you a little time feels like a gift. Whether it's getting breakfast together, packing lunches, or figuring out dinner after a busy day, Whole Foods Market will make your life a little easier. At Whole Foods Market, you can stock up on fast and easy breakfast favorites like frozen waffles or quick egg bites. Fill lunch boxes with organic produce or essentials like cheese sticks and bagged mandarins. Or grab prepared meals for busy evenings. Whatever you need, they've got plenty of convenient options. And because it's Whole Foods Market, you know what you're getting is up to the highest quality standards. In fact, they ban more than 300 food ingredients store-wide, meaning no hydrogenated fats, no high fructose corn syrup in the baked treats, and a great selection of allergen-friendly options for the whole family. If you're really short on time, Prime members can shop at WFM.com and get their first delivery order over $25 delivered free. Terms apply. Shop back-to-school must-haves at Whole Foods Market in store or online.